Is Microsoft the reason that next gen is being hampered right now? And are they the reason themselves why we're seeing so many PS exclusives coming this generation? Well, we did have a report come out just today saying that a lot of developers are talking about the Series S and not in a good way. Hey, I'm LittleBobby here with 59 Gaming Direct, and today we're going to be talking about this new article from WCCFtech.com about how many developers have been trying to get the Xbox Series S launch requirement dropped. Before we get into this article and talk about what it means for the industry, make sure that if you're new here, you hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell to stay up to date with all the news, reviews, and other content we bring you here on this channel. And leave a like if you enjoy this video. And if you don't enjoy this video, leave a dislike and let us know in the comments either way what you like or don't like about it so we can provide the best possible content for you in the future. But for now, let's just jump right into this article. Written by Francesco De Mayo over at WCCFtech.com. The article goes to say the Xbox Series S is apparently becoming a bigger problem for many developers, especially now that the current generation only games are in the works. Answering a tweet from Jeff Gerstmann regarding the console by Microsoft holding back games, VFX artist for Bossa Studios Ian McClure revealed that the reason that we are hearing this so much lately is that many developers have been trying for the past year to get Xbox Series S launch requirements dropped, adding that the console has been an albatross around the neck of production in the previous development cycle and developers do not want to repeat the process. So basically what McClure is saying here is that the Series S has been something that is harder to develop for, especially with the larger scale of video games have been going for since the next gen consoles were announced. And a big part of this comes off the drama that we talked about a few days ago with Gotham Knights, right? Gotham Knights was seeing a lot of player pushback for not having a 60 FPS mode available on consoles. And we even had a video from just a couple days ago where my brother, the Platinum Chin, talked about how there was a certain dev who got involved and said that the Xbox Series S is a potato and that it should not be part of the current console generation. Now, at the time, that actually sounded kind of severe because we'd heard things about the Xbox Series S and how it performed so well with so many games having tons of games at 120 FPS, 60 FPS, even Cyberpunk and things like that. But after doing some research, we found that a very, very large number of those games that were running at 120 FPS or even 60 FPS are backwards compatible either from Xbox One or Xbox 360 days. And not only that, but games like Cyberpunk and those other modern games are going as slow as 900 or even 720p in demanding scenes, thanks to very creative use of dynamic resolution scaling, which is all well and good, but the thing about it is that yeah, these games can run, but they're running at the quality that we might come to expect from the Nintendo Switch and not a true next-gen console. If they're running at a low quality like PC spec wise and having to go down to 900 or 720p, sure, that might look okay on a 1080p TV, but if you're trying to call that next gen, saying it can stand up to 1440p or 4K 60 at any point from the Xbox Series X or the PS5, then I feel like you're arguing in bad faith, because with the specs coming out as they are, we can clearly see that these games are not getting the kind of performance that gamers who invest in gaming as a hobby and take it seriously expect from a real quote-unquote next-gen experience. Funny enough, there were a few other developers who came out and backed Lee Devenald the other day when he said the Xbox Series S was a potato that was going to hamstring an entire generation. But the thing is that we got a lot of console warrior people who, and both sides of this are ridiculous. I hate when people call people Xbots, or I hate when people call people ponies. It's just such a silly thing to do, especially when I know a lot of people are like my age or close to it. You guys are like in your 30s or 40s, getting close to 40, grow up a little bit. But that being said, with this, I take my gaming seriously, and personally, if I bought a PS5 and it's going to get hamstrung for third-party stuff because of the Series S, that's kind of upsetting to me personally, right? And if you're someone who bought a Series X, you should also be upset with this, because that means your experience is one that's being hindered as well, because Microsoft has stated time and time again that everything that comes out for the Xbox Series X must come out for the Xbox Series S. That's a big part of this article, that these developers are having to accommodate for a system that clearly cannot reach the same levels of the other two systems. The Xbox Series X is a fantastic system. The PlayStation 5 is a fantastic system, but you're hearing now from developers that the Xbox Series S is hindering both of them, and that's upsetting. So one of the things we looked into after reading through this article is what kind of specs are we actually dealing with on the Xbox Series S? Well, taking a look at the CPU, we actually had some really surprising discoveries here. It looks like the AMD Zen 2 8-core processor being used runs at 3.6 gigahertz, so that's something like the equivalent of a Ryzen 38 or 3900, which is an impressive CPU. I cannot take anything away from that. But the thing is that CPU does dictate certain games. It absolutely does. Like, I play Destiny 2, and my CPU, which is a Ryzen 5900X, still kind of gets a workout from that game despite it being like 5 years old, just because of how the game runs and how new content is added to it, and they upgrade things like lighting and textures every couple years. But here's the thing. Looking into the GPU, when you look at the equivalency to a PC GPU, that's where things start not looking too hot for the Series S. The Series S GPU at its best could be rated as something equivalent to a maybe 1070 or 1660 Ti, which is several years old at this point. Remember, the 3080, that flagship series 3090, that series is 2 years old. The 10 series is going on something like 5 to 6 years old. Now the 1660 is a little younger than that. It has a little bit more of an upgrade, but if you're talking about something like that, that's still several years old. And while it sounds like it'd be impressive, you're looking at things like Gotham Knights, and you see the PC spec requirements to run at 1080p and 60 FPS on low requirements, which does not look very good. You can see that they are recommending a 1660 Ti. Now, obviously, you don't want the game to run at its lowest settings on console. Most consoles will strive for like PC medium settings-ish, while maybe making a few concessions on certain effects like post-processing. But if that actually is the case, that would explain why Lee Devenold made the comments that he did the other day. We're seeing games like Gotham Knights come out, which doesn't look too intensive, but clearly it is. It's a large open world. You can have multiple players running around any part of the city in the same world instance, which is really intensive because then your computer or your console has to keep track of where that player is and what they're doing as well, and likely has to have at least part of the world that they're in rendered, so if you want to fast travel to them or something, you're able to do that. So while it is impressive that the Series S has some decent performance for newer games, especially those optimized for Xbox consoles, things like Gears of War and Halo Infinite especially has been noted as running at 120 FPS on the Series S. Third-party games having to use dynamic scaling resolution to take the resolution down so far beyond what is even considered like the standard nowadays. I would say most people consider, if they have a TV, they have a 4K TV. I mean, if you're a serious gamer, you can get a 4K TV nowadays for like $300. You can get one with 120 hertz VRR for about $600. I have a 55-inch VRR 120 hertz that I play my PS5 on, and I think that TV cost me around $700, right? So if you are someone who takes their gaming seriously, you're probably not buying a Series S anyway, right? And I know that things have been very, very divided in terms of the Xbox and the PlayStation camps, especially recently with all the social media stuff that goes on. But if you are someone who really takes gaming seriously, you invested in either a Series X or a PS5, you should be concerned about how these developers are talking about the Series S holding back development of third-party games moving into this next generation. One of the last things I do want to bring up is we've seen Sony snatch up a lot of exclusives this generation, and that has been a big talking point, especially with this whole CMA, Xbox, Blizzard Activision acquisition business, that Sony has all these exclusives, but Xbox can't just buy Activision because they have the money to do it, so they should be able to do it. Now, all of those arguments aside, one of the things that came to mind while I was doing this research and looking into this article was that PlayStation has been making deals, and if developers really do feel like the Series S is hindering development and the scale at which they can make their games, that could possibly be the explanation as to why Sony is getting so many more exclusive deals. If developers only have to develop for the most powerful console they can get their hands on, they don't have to worry about something with, those really low-end GPU specs that they have to develop for, they can create things on a greater scale. They don't have to worry about shrinking down the size of their ideas to accommodate a platform that is so restrictive, right? It makes sense for a third party then to go, hey, we want to make this exclusivity deal. Yeah, maybe they do get extra money, but the biggest thing is they go, we don't have to worry about making it for something that's going to hold back our vision. And that is a very important thing that we need to think about. I think that Microsoft might have more luck getting these third-party exclusives if they did not enforce the Series S, especially with so many developers coming out lately saying this thing is a nightmare to try and get to work, and we don't even want to do it anymore. All the time, energy, and resources that have to go into developing for a console to make things work on the scale that you want, at the same time trying to get it to work for this extremely underpowered modern-day console, I think is going to be the thing that really ends up setting back Microsoft, because I can just see that Sony is just going to get more and more of these exclusive third-party games, not because they're buying everybody out, because they don't have a clause in every contract that says, hey, you have to make sure this is developed and runs on the base PS4 as well, which is effectively what the Series S is doing. That's a last-gen console. It just happens to be able to run some things with some new gen specs if they're old enough, or if they make enough compromises, especially with resolution and effects. If it's me and I'm a developer, I'm going, hey, I'm going to take the deal where I know I'm going to sell on this thing and I don't have to make real huge compromises to what I want to create. But what do you think about this article? Was Lee Devenald right? Is the Xbox Series S holding back the generation? It's certainly starting to look like that to me, as someone who, bought the new generation to have a new generation experience. I want everybody to be able to have that new generation experience. But if third party is limited to creating for the least powerful system, which is what happens here, I feel like that maybe he was right in saying that we are going to be hamstrung by Microsoft's want to capture that casual, budget-friendly market. Anyway, all that being said, guys, I'm LittleBobby here with 59 Direct, and I want to thank you so much for watching the video today. Remember, leave a like if you enjoyed the content, leave a dislike if you didn't. Let us know what we can do better in the future, and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date for all the news, reviews, and other content we put out here on 59 Direct. Thanks again for watching, and we hope to see you soon.